Daily Sun reporter Damon Steer, and I'm joined by George Mottram, and he is one of 3 candidates running for Carroll County House District 3, and he's here to tell us about his candidacy. Thank you for being here.
It's my pleasure.
George, can you tell us a little bit about your background?
Well, I, excuse me, like a lot of people in Conway and Carroll County in New Hampshire, I migrated up here from Massachusetts and used to live in Andover, Mass. After I come out of the Marine Corps. And I didn't know what I was going to do at first. So being a Marine, I guarded Air Force One for John F. Kennedy and nuclear weapons and all that, and did cross-country chasing of prisoners. I used to bring them over to the castle at Portsmouth. I figured that, well, right off, I'm probably qualified to be a cop, so I filled out an application to be a cop in Massachusetts. And when they finally got a hold of me, I passed it, the exam and all that. They finally got a hold of me, and they wanted me to ride a horse in the park. And I says, "What do you mean ride a horse in the park?" Give me a cruiser like everybody else, you know. So, but they told me it's going to be a while before, I got started with them and everything else. So at the time, I went and applied for a job at Raytheon. I was a contract draftsman and electromechanical draftsman, and I was a buyer, contract buyer. I worked at every Raytheon plant. I was making more money than the guy next to me doing the same job.
Wow.
So I was pretty happy with that. But eventually that just went nowhere, and I says, I want to do other things. I want to do something better, something bigger. So I started my own construction company because my grandfather was a general contractor builder down in Massachusetts in Weymouth. And he taught me everything I knew about building. So I started my own construction building, and I moved up to Salem, New Hampshire. And from Salem, New Hampshire, I ended up getting married. My first son was George Jr., and he was one day watching on the TV in Londonderry when we were living there, and a movie about airplanes and stuff, and when he kept pointing at it, and everything else, and then I said, wow. I was telling my wife, he loves airplanes. I said, well, I'm going to go get my pilot license.
Wow.
So I went and got my pilot license and my instructor rating and all that stuff. And I used to take him flying, and my other son come along. That's when we moved up from Londonderry to Mottram, and that was in '77.
Was the airport there?
And there's the Mottram Airport.
Yeah.
I managed that for a year because I took a year off of my business when construction was slow. I had my business for 53 years, and I had 25 employees. Now I've worked. I built $1 million homes. I've built a lot of spec homes. I went to college nights while I was working days, and I was working around the clock. So I was very busy, and I've always been very busy. And so as it went along, when construction got slow, my sons came to me and they said, what are we going to do? They were both Marines, and I said, well. What I did when I come out of the Marine Corps, I said I was going to be a cop. I said, so you've got that background, so go and apply. So my oldest son went to work as a cop in Londonderry for 20 years. He just retired about a year and a half ago. My younger son is still on the job in Boscawen, and he's a sergeant down there, and he's a sniper on a SWAT team. So it's very interesting to see how things went along. They're following my footsteps, and they've got the same work ethic. You know, they work long hours.
When did you move to Moultonborough?
That was in '77, and that was just when we had that big snowstorm. And I used to plow with my trucks for the town of Moultonborough. And of course, at the time, the state vehicles were so busy with other roads, they weren't doing 25 as well. So I was plowing down 25. We had 5-6 foot snow drifts. And on Reading Lane, I pulled a state cop out. I was pulling cops out all over the place. They were getting stuck, you know.
And so what brings you to running for office?
Well, over the years, I come to find out that, realize that if you've got a big social network, you're pretty much a shoo-in. You'll get elected. And then I found out that what's happening is they're electing people because of who they know and not what they know. And I got several degrees and stuff like that, and I'm a thinker, you know. I do research and stuff like that. I don't just go and make an off-the-cuff decision about something without looking into it, you know, because you go and say something that could come back and bite you if it's not the right thing, you know. And I'll give you an example now. Last time that I ran for a representative, Richard Brown won the election in Carroll Crawford. Now, Carroll Crawford's got one of the lowest ratings in Concord because she's a select woman and a representative. So one is conflicting with the other, and she can't get down there all the time because of business she has with Moultonborough. And Richard used to come to my house all the time. He's another veteran. And when I was president of the New Hampshire Private Road Taxpayers Alliance, I put together a bill because private roads have not been defined in the RSAs in New Hampshire. So I put together this bill, and I says to Richard, right in my driveway, I says, Richard, I want you to sponsor this bill. You know, he's my representative. He should sponsor my bill. I mean, I can't go to some other representative and want to try to get them to do it. Well, he looked at my bill and he says, you know, he says, my constituents don't want me to sponsor this. I goes, what? I says, look at me, Richard. I'm one of your constituents, you know? And I says, I believe what you just said is illegal. What are we going to do now? Send a letter down to all of the legislators in the House and say, we don't need you no more because Richard's going to make all the decisions? And that's not right. I says, you should have sponsored my bill, and if you didn't like it, when it came up for a vote, vote against it. But at least you were doing what you were supposed to do. And that's when I decided, even though I lost that race, I'm going to run again because I'm going to represent all the people. I don't care who it is here in my district. You got a problem? Come and see me, and we'll deal with it, you know? I enjoy helping people. That's what I really enjoy.
And some of the issues we're curious about your thoughts on include school funding and housing. You want to take a gander at what you'd like to see done for housing?
I casually, and I spend a lot of time at night, as you know, my emails are all late. I stay up real late researching stuff. And we seem to have a problem of funding our school system. Now, it would seem to me that somebody along the way would have said, well, let's research this and try to find out what's the best way to approach that problem, you know. And just in the brief research that I did, and it didn't take me long to find it out, Massachusetts, New Jersey, these states have pretty good ways of funding their school systems, and I think that's something that we should look into, you know. And you know, they're forever wanting to start a committee to do this and do that. I mean, why don't we just get a committee going for that and put this baby to bed, you know? Let's get it over and done with. And another thing that's always seems to bug me is the high property taxes.
Right, yeah, absolutely.
You know, I mean, we're getting to be a state because of the country, rather, not just a state of New Hampshire. But we're getting into the position now where we're going to have more elderly than we have younger generation, because they've been pushing this abortion thing. You know, when you start killing our babies in the womb, they don't grow up like you and like me and other people. Look at way back. I mean, we wouldn't have electricity if the mother aborted that. The money come up with the electricity, you know, and all that other stuff. I mean, I can't understand why anybody would want to stifle somebody's future. You know, even a lot of people that are autistic and stuff like that, you know, they got a problem. But they're geniuses, a lot of them. They're smart, you know. I mean, we should be looking at that and try to groom them and, you know, and get them to be the hit their maximum potential, you know. It's like an untapped reservoir here.
Let's see, what else can I ask you? Have you property tax relief? Like when you talk about the other states, what do they do differently? Do you have a sense of some of the ways they fund?
What's this now on
the other states?
On the education problem?
On education, like have you seen any more details on what they do?
Well, I didn't. I'm really not in a position to really dive into this. If I was,
right,
I would make a difference. I would find out just what it is that they're doing, how they're doing it, how we can apply it to our situation.
What did they do when you were down in Massachusetts? Do you recall?
When I was in Massachusetts, I mean, I just went to school like any other kid and stuff like that. And now there seems to be a lot of talk about in New Hampshire about, you know, should start to learn more of the trades and stuff. Well, I took shop when I was when I went to Lawrence High School, and that's where I picked up a lot of knowledge on construction and stuff like that. You know, even sheet metal work and stuff.
Being a builder, you might have some ideas on how to make housing affordable.
Well, today I'm finding out stuff. I mean, right now I'm painting my own house because I can't find anybody to do it. Nobody wants to work unless you're paying them $40 or $50 an hour. I mean, can you imagine paying somebody $50 an hour to go like this with his hand? No way, not me. You know, I'm a general contractor with 53 years of business experience. MBA degree, bachelor's degree in business, several certificates in project management. I was a master electrician, master plumber. I was licensed for everything under the sun. I used to have the reputation of being a one-stop builder. Didn't have to go to nobody else because I was the only guy you had to worry about, you know. And I treated everybody fairly. I'm a man of my word. If I tell you I'm going to do something, I do it. I don't give you no him. Oh, I can't, or this or that, you know. If I make a commitment, I do it, you know. It's like, you know, coming up here for this interview. I mean, The other candidates feel that they're a shoo-in, I guess, because they're, you know, already incumbent. But I don't look at it that way, you know. And I believe in term limits. You know, I don't want to die in office, you know. I mean, look, people that we have in Washington, Pelosi and Schumer and all these other people. That's crazy, you know. I want to serve a little bit. I want to set the bar high, and I want the next person to come in to try to outdo what I did. And they're going to find out it's not going to be as easy as they may think, you know, because I'm going to set that bar high. I'm going to attend all the sessions down there. I'm going to be voting. I'm not going to have a C- score like, you know, our Carroll Crawford representative.
Do you ever pay attention to county politics? And you know, as a member of the House, you would be also part of the Carroll County delegation overseeing the county budget.
Well, this time around, I'm very surprised. I mean, I've taken so many surveys. I don't know. I've 603 Alliance, the right to work. You know, I've got experience with unions, and right to work. You know, if you're going to get hired to do a job, why should you have to give some of your money to a union because you got the job? Baloney. If you don't want to join the union, then that's it. Don't join, and you shouldn't be obligated to do it. You know, what's our motto in New Hampshire? Live free or die. You know, it's not live free if you're in the union. You know. So forget that. I made a lot of pledges, and I'm going to stick to them. You know, I got a list of some of the things that.
Yeah, why don't you tell us about some of the pledges you've taken?
All right, to defend the Constitution of the United States and New Hampshire. Okay. Less government. I'm going to do everything I can to get less government. You know, we got to cut spending. You know, the more spending you do, the bigger the government gets, because now you got to raise taxes, and I'm against that. I don't want to raise taxes. I don't want to have an income tax or a sales tax. I don't want none of that stuff. I pledged to always vote no on state tax or income tax. Always vote for public safety funding. I had both my sons were police officers. One's still on a job. I met with Governor Shaheen down here at the site in Boscawen where the Veterans Cemetery is, and got that started. Okay? And once it got started, of course at the time I started the Marine Corps League in New Hampshire in 1982. And I, after different detachments formed up and stuff like that, I became the department commandant. And that's when I met with Governor Shaheen and got that ball going. But because we were still a small organization, I kind of relied on the DAV, you know, the Legion and stuff like that to take the ball and run, okay? And that's what they did. And that's why we have it. Then there's voting for parental rights. I'm going to do that. That's my pledge, you know. I don't think that the school systems should have the right to decide what they're going to do to your kids without you knowing it, you know. If they want to make recommendations and stuff, give it to the parents, and the parents will decide, you know. And if the parents, you know, say that there's a lot of things going on in that school system that I don't care about, they should have the right to take their kids out of there and put them in another school, you know. I mean, that shouldn't be cast in stone, but they got to be right there. And then there's other things that no increase in taxes, no new taxes, lower property taxes. I mean, you get somebody that's worked their whole life hard, you know, they work hard, they pay their bills and everything else, and now they've been at it for so long. Time flies when you're having fun. Now it's you're looking at retirement, so you want to enjoy what you've built.
Right.
You know, and property taxes in New Hampshire are extremely high. You know, why? Because they're relying everything on the property taxes to pay for this, that, and all this other stuff. They don't understand cut spending, and it's going to be all right, you know? It'll bring things down. But no, they don't go along with the... It's like private roads. You know, you have private roads like in the town of Moultonborough where I live. We got more private roads than we have people, for crying out loud. I mean, it's getting crazy, you know?
That's a lot.
But my feeling is, if you don't have a gate across it, it's not a private road, you know? But why do you have private roads? This is the cash cow for the towns and the cities, because it's easier to cut services than it is to cut spending, okay? And I didn't just fall off a turnip truck, so I know what's going on, you know, and I know that, you know, a lot of times they're just servicing their social network. You know, somebody wants this, somebody wants that, so then they put together a budget that includes all of that stuff, you know.
All right. Well, I think we might be running out of time because we've got some other people coming in. But so your sheet covers Madison, Moultonborough, and Tamworth,
Right,
and the primary is September 8th,
right,
and the general election is November 3rd.
yeah.
And so if you get through the primary, then we'll probably see you again before.
Well, it's
November.
it seems like I was going to talk a little bit more on a few minutes ago, is that I seem to have more people behind me this time. I'm quite surprised. Maybe it's because of all the surveys I've taken, and you know, I've kept copies of all of them. You know, as a reminder, you know, this is what I said I was going to do in the survey, so I'm going to do it. If I don't have, like I said to Chuck McGee, I don't have a big social network because I'm a hard-working man. I mean, at my age, I'm painting my house because I can't get anybody to do it. Nobody wants to work, you know? And so I say that I just got to keep doing and saying what I've been saying. And right now I just got a petition started because the town of Moultonborough, the select board, because they have the authority to go and buy property and this and that, they wanted to buy the CUCON building in Moultonborough, an office building, and I helped put the squash to that because that was, like somebody was saying, that's a no-brainer. He says, yeah, it was a lack of brains, the guy to come up with that idea, you know, saying that our building that we have now for the town hall needs a lot of work. But they're going to dump that, and then they want to buy this building for $5-6 million, and then the clincher is spend $1 million to remodel it. I'm going, what?
Oh, it's a lot of money.
You know, why not take 500,000 of that $1 million you're going to remodel it, and remodel the building we got right now, and we'll come out smelling like a rose, you know? But to go and just dump money in there, and what'll happen is there'll be the recreation center, they'll put a pool in the back, and that's going to cost taxes and all that stuff. That, we buried that. So now we have the, on Moultonborough Neck Road, in Ferry Road, the residents on Ferry Road love looking at the view of Mount Washington. So they went and they put the bug in the ear of the select board, you know, geez, you know, we ought to buy that. So the contingency fund that they were going to use to buy the CUCON building, burning a hole in their pocket, you know, they want to spend that money. It's driving them crazy. They haven't spent it. So they want to buy that property, and they want to put a cemetery in there. 177 acres of cemetery in a town of 5,000 people. I mean, this is, you know, that's a problem.
Yeah.
Somebody's not thinking right.
We'll have to look into that one too. But I think we gotta wrap it up. But thank you for coming, George. Appreciate
Well,
it.
my pleasure. I'd do it again in a minute. I got a lot more things to say.
Yeah, I bet.